Hi there. I'm doing a demo for MCP using Cursor AI, talking to a Nokia SR OS Lab. I have shown this before, but this one will be that I'm trying to use MCP server that I built on top of NSO's API to be used in Cursor AI. So Cursor AI will be the super agent or the routing agent, whatever you want to call it, to pick the MCP server's offering to talk to the lab. Okay, the lab is very simple. It's just like this and triangle, R1, R2, R3 in a triangle. I have never touched OS before, the Nokia OS before. So this is really the first time that I touch these devices. So the lab is basically already set up. The NSO is running on my local machine, and the devices are actually running on a different server. So there are multiple things I want to show. And so the MCP server is also running on my local device. So that means Cursor is talking to my local MCP server, and then MCP server talks to NSO. NSO again talks to the devices here. You can see this is like a virtual lab built on the containers. Very cheap setup. Okay, and I can only do very basic stuff on these routers, but you will see later. So as you can see, I wiped the config first, and then my first question is, can you configure a provision IP address for these links? Okay, and I wasn't specific enough here. I think I should have said range instead of /24 for the links between R1, R2, R3. So what the tool did was, take a look. So this is a common mistake. It just put all the interfaces of links in /24, which is not correct. Okay, and strangely, actually, it took my config. So I didn't provision the loopback address. But then my question was, yes, but you are sure your subnet is right? And the AI basically reasoned through a bit to think, well, yeah, no, that doesn't work. If you want to have a link subnet, you should put in /31. So corrected it using, and also updated the reference RDMD. So that's basically my skills, okay, or the workflow. So now it changed from /24 to /31 and fixed in lab, and it was also corrected in the reference MD. Then I was asking it to set up a loopback address. I think it was called system 0, although I don't really understand what system 0 and the difference between system 0 and loopback 0 for the Nokia routers. But anyway, I gave this IP range, asked NSO MCP to pick up the loopback address. And that's exactly what it did. And also I asked to set ISS up with best practice template. Okay. Then so it went on sync config towards the routers, and here basically he put the ISS config in. And this is the result. So we have the system loopback up, and loopbacks are provisioned, and this is what is configured under ISIS. So level 2, same area using system ID. That's right. And export the loopback. Okay. Okay, all that I can skip. Then I had some issues because I was on the train when I was recording this video. So it's connectivity issues. And can you bring up the tunnel? No. And he at the end he brought up the tunnel because I was keep on disconnecting. Okay, I see. Can we not run NSO? Okay. I found because I was connecting to my iPhone. It looks like my NSO was bind to the Wi-Fi address. So I said, why don't you bind? Because then when you switch address, the portal changes. I said, why don't you just bind to loopback address 127.0.0.1? And that's what I quickly found. He says, okay, this is a very quick swap. He changed that. Then we were up and running again to use this RESTCONF to talk to NSO. Okay. I reload the MCP server. That's all fine. Then we're up and running. And I decide at some point I say, okay, because I'm on the train and then the lab is quite remote. I said, why don't we just configure everything locally? We lock the southbound. We don't commit anything to the southbound towards the devices. I just want to play with the config. Okay, that's what NSO did. I mean, Cursor AI did. He also realized what is southbound locked. What does that mean? You know, and he was telling me what does that mean. Actually, I know already. So at the end, he asked me, so want me to lock R1, R2, R3, and dump the full CDBs to the NSO config summary. I said, yes, please. Then he did it, and he showed me what is inside the config, the CDB of NSO. So you can see all the link addresses and loopback address and ISIS is up. Okay. Now I think, okay, why don't you set up BGP peering, activate only IPv4 address family using loopback 0. Okay, and I ask, I want R1, R3 as client, R2 as RR. And you know, and I didn't ask to enable MPLS. Just notice that. If you are expert in IP, you know what I mean. So then I'm putting a trap for the AI. So then he did that and showed me things are up running, sessions up based on system 0 as peering. Okay, so unicast only template, cluster ID. So reflector is up. So then retro. The retro is a fine technique. This is looking back into the cursor history and basically capture what you have told the model of. Okay, so capture anything that you deliberately ask the AI to change, to modify, to adapt, you know, and this is good to do a retro to capture those things that you told AI, and the AI would be able to basically remember what we have done. I know, either is a guardrail category of some rules or behavior rules. Okay, so next time you can really leverage on those things. You don't repeat them. So now we would just I said, oh, everything I want to capture. Then he did that. Can skip. Then I said good now. So I want to reason through your config so far. Do you think this is going to work out of box with your current ISIS and BGP setup? And AI came back with a pretty decent answer. It says, okay, ISIS is good shape, but BGP is structured right, but I would not bet out of box without the one fix and a live check. Mainly neighbor level AFI and the fact we never verified live state while Southbound-locked. Okay. And I want to point to the place where he was correct. So here when you say, when BGP, look. So R1, R3, neighbor, this is correct. R2 to R1, R3. Client reflector, true, yes. No R1 to R3 BGP, correct, that's fine. Gap, I would fix before calling it down. Missing AFI, okay. Okay, here. Other BGP nodes, okay. It says next hop cell found RR, not in template. Matters when reflecting between R1 R3, not for session estimated. That's absolutely right. Okay. At the end he says, okay, BGP might not work. Okay, so it's pretty good, I think. And then I would say, okay, let's set up an extra loopback on every box and export into BGP. Do you think it is better to export the system 0 loopback 0 into BGP? And the AI comes back, yes, it says yes. I have a doubt about that. But he give all the reasons why an extra loopback is worth it. Production style split. Custom demo looks like the Nokia can have system 0 and loopback 0. Okay, I don't know what's the difference. Then the BGP external alone will not advertise loopbacks. That's the policy. So that's the bottom line. Export system 0. So, but anyway, I didn't take all the advice the AI was telling. I said, okay, just set up an extra loopback 100 for BGP to export, and the IP range should be separate from the interface IP and system IP. Okay, that's what exactly AI did. So it announced that. So it configured on 100, 100, 100, the 1.2.3 for the loopback 100, where it was configured. Okay, and it's put into the BGP export policy. Okay, ask me to enable the tunnel again so we can talk to the real device. I say, okay, can you enable second routing? And he was talking to the lab, to the devices directly, find out that it's not capable of doing SR-MPLS. Warned me about that. Why we cannot enable it? Because I'm not on the paid container. It's a free container. So anyways, I said, okay, can you enable MPLS, plan MPLS with LDP? It's the same thing, it didn't work, okay? So at the end I said, okay, can you push the config to device now? And that's exactly what the AI did. It unlocked the southbound and pushed the device's config. That's all that. Config is over for device. What I did, brought up the SS tunnel, unlock a southbound, push the config. ISIS is up, BGP is established, loopback is also verified. Checks in. So This is what not supported on the Nokia network element driver, is to check sync config. Okay, so running end-to-end verification, BGP reflection, full connectivities. Okay. As you want me to run the full end-to-end check, ping loopback, conform R1 sys R3 in RIP, etc. etc. Okay, fine. He was testing that. I found the BGP regression bug. Oh, that's good. R2's RR group uses BGP export loopback 100 instead of BGP exit. Oh, fixing that. And okay, did that. Now they have end-to-end verification pass, so everybody's able to reach there. I wonder when the R2 reflecting between R1 and R3, does it do the next hop self? Okay, so issue found fixed during the verification. BGP route reflection was broken on R2. Okay. Fix applied. Set back to okay. Gotcha for later. When adding do not apply. Okay. Advertise some. Fine follow up. Okay. I would have one last question. One R2 reflect from R1 to R3 or the 124 IP range loopback IP. Are you doing it yourself? Because I thought this is quite essential. If it's not, then we have an issue, no? Or because we have a direct connection between R1 and R3, that's why it's working. Simple BGP rules. No. Oh, we are not doing next hop self. Reflecting the keep original. This is default iBGP, unless you explicit next hop self. Okay, cool. So reachability, okay, good. If infrastructure is not in the IGP or not in IGP, preserved would break unless you either enable or is labeled BGP MPLS. Okay. Also these are /host root not summarize. Want to rewrite. Okay, actually I think what you think. Ask the AI to reason about it. Evaluating whether to configure the subself. Short answer: keep preset next hop for this lab. I would not turn on next hop unless you definitely want in data path. Okay. Why preserve next hop? So fit your preserve next hop. Yeah. Okay. With that model, preserve next hop is a natural choice. BG says, which is we are one. As I already know how to get to our service traffic, so it would make sense. Turn if you want. Pattern is dev, client need route to yes, fry. That's correct. Stay with preserve because you build SS. Yeah, if the link between R1 R2 is down, we are dead. No? What happens if the link between R1 and R3 is down? Okay, let's see what AI says. Oh, he torn down the link and then tried a ping. You don't want to do that in my production network. This is okay in the lab. My goodness. Have to write a rule for this. But anyway, I want to see the reasoning, how the AI is able to see what's going on. It might take some time. I mean, for expert, somebody's dealing with this every day, you would know straight away. Without this is basically like a trial and error, right? Yes, I would update you once it's done.